Studios presents Common Censored.
Oh, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Common Censored. I'm Lord Sterling, and we are broadcasting live from deep behind enemy lines in azure blue Connecticut from Castle Sterling on the Sound. Way back there in FEMA Region 1. And this is episode 107. All kinds of crazy stuff as usual. Dementia Hitler goes wild, raging last night in the State of the Union speech. Senator Tommy Tuberville says the quiet part out loud that the U.S. is dead broke, and such insanity as a Gold Star dad being arrested at the State of the Union, whilst Joe Biden mispronounces Laken Riley, calls her Lincoln Riley, and MTG also is yelling, but does not get in trouble the way that Dementia Joe got got the Gold Star father in trouble, which is pretty fucked up. 2 tiers of justice, right, Mama Mac? Welcome, all of you censored commoners. Thanks for joining us today, Monday through Friday, 6:30 Eastern Time PM. Make sure to use hashtag #CommonCensored when you share the broadcast on X, where you can find us at _CommonCensored. You can find Dre at TruckFit LLC. That's TRUKFYT LLC. And you can find me at Mortis _Knock2. Disclaimer. Views expressed on Common Censored are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving legal, medical, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. Let's jump into some news. Actually, first, let's start off with Threepers quote of the day. Back in the 30s, we were told we must collectivize the nation because the people were so poor. Now we are told we must collectivize the nation because people are so rich. PJ O'Rourke, good find. Threeper kind of reminds me of, how we need to control carbon because the world's too cold in the 70s, and now we got to control carbon or control your environmental outputs because the world's too hot. They're just going back and forth. Speaking of the 30s with FDR collectivizing everything, we'll get into Dan Bongino's reaction to Biden's speech last night. He compares, he's laughing at the comparisons that are being made of Biden with Roosevelt. Pretty ridiculous stuff. Before we get to the State of the Union, let's jump into some news type stuff. My friend Mark sent me this earlier. Share the screen. Here we go. From Lena Petrova, U.S. Senator exposes government. U.S. is dead broke and government spending is a scam, says Senator Tommy Tuberville. And obviously, everybody knows this, but it's good to have a senator outright saying it. So let's make this full screen and check out some of this video, because this is, important stuff to understand and to understand the ramifications of as well.
Hello and welcome
Happy
back.
Friday,
Thank
everybody.
you so much for tuning in. Well, believe it or not, the United States is broke. U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville just said the quiet part out loud in a video that I'm about to play for you. He clearly admits that Social Security and government spending, and I quote here, "It is all a scam." Those are his words.
Ding, ding, ding,
Of
ding,
course,
ding.
if
All
you've been
scam.
following my channel for a while, you know that the U.S. is breaking all previous records in a bad sense of the word, with the national debt now being above $34 trillion and consumer credit card debt hitting a new record high of $1.1 trillion, it is safe to say that the United States as a country and its population are in a debt trap. $34 trillion consists of
Unbelievable.
$27 trillion in debt held.
If you have ever seen the speech by Pastor Rod Parsley called Conquering the Spirit of Debt, he goes over the history of debt in the U.S. and talks about like the fundamental foundational concepts of currencies and of all this stuff and the types of conquest that there are: military, religious, and economic. Also information conquest, but that's a different, more modern phenomena that wasn't always possible. But he points out that we went like 200 years before our debt even hit $1 billion. And now we're adding $1 trillion every 100 days, which is bananas. Completely banana.
Held by the public, in other words, by you, and $7 trillion in intergovernmental debt. By the way, $34 trillion is roughly the value of the economies of China, Germany, Japan, India, and the UK combined. In fact, the government has been so reckless with its spending that the United States debt is now rising by $1 trillion. Just think about that, $1 trillion about every 100 days.
Bananas. And instead of using any of that debt to give back to the people and empower us, of course, thanks, Gator, Joe is using it on all the illegals. You citizens want more than the illegals! Screaming like Hitler up there. Of course, this is not from the State of the Union. This is from the famous red background Marines behind him speech, but still rings true. Spending way more on the illegals than they would ever care to spend on us.
Think about that, $1 trillion every 3 months, roughly. It is no wonder that the interest payments on national debt have already surpassed U.S. defense spending and soon will exceed every single government program. Additionally, I want to remind you that Moody's Investor Services lowered its ratings outlook on the U.S. government to negative from stable in November due to the rising risks of the country's fiscal strength. The agency said, in the context of higher interest rates, without effective fiscal policy measures, so technically they say U.S. fiscal policy is not effective, without effective fiscal policy measures to reduce government spending or increase revenues. The agency added that it expects the U.S. fiscal deficits will remain very large, significantly weakening debt affordability. U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville says it as it is. He says the United States is broke with $34 trillion in debt. Tuberville said, quote, "We don't have any money. We are dead broke." Those are his words.
Well, yeah, let's skip ahead to the video. This is craziness.
Whose quality of life will gradually decline pre-such.
This is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible.
And she was talking about how quality of life gradually declining. That's why I think they tried to cover that up by encouraging women to enter the workforce with the women's empowerment movement. And additionally, in one of my songs from 20 years ago, almost at this point, I talked about how they hid it by spreading it out over time, like slowly boiling a frog. I said devaluation spread out over 3 generations. And I repeated it 3 times because it's a really important point, that they're slowly, incrementally doing it so that nobody notices. But we know what's going on. We see the economic conquest that flies right over most people's heads.
It's impossible. because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're 35 trillion in debt. We don't have union money. We're dead broke. And then taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. We are in huge trouble. In this body, we had better start figuring that out, because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up here saying, where's our damn money?
Yeah, I have one of my sets of lights off right now, Sam, because it blinded me yesterday and my eyes are still recovering. So I have only half my lights on at the moment.
That we paid in. I could have put my Social Security money, 40 years, in tax, in the market, and probably be worth 8 to 10 million today. But the federal government wasted it. So I'll get off my horse there. But it's good that we have this, because we got, I get a little pension check from education. I was part of a union.
Yeah, that's right, Alicia. Taxation is theft. And like it said on the little plate that Ron Paul had sitting on top of his desk in Galveston at his congressional office in Texas, don't steal. The government hates competition.
It's not going to help people. People are going to have to continue to work longer and longer. Am I right, Ms. Gender? Can you say something about Social Security and it being taxed for some reason? We're taxing people for the second time on Social Security that they put into an account.
Right.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out when Social Security was first founded, those who established it was started out as a 2% tax, and they said this will never take more than 6% of your income. Today it takes 12.4%, and depending on whether you go with CBO or Social Security trustees, it needs to take between 15.8 and 17.5%. So we're talking about thousands of dollars more per year. It also was actually only originally recommended that
these fucking bastards leading us to disaster, suppressing precious metals prices while they print fiat money faster.
The tax be up to $66,000, the equivalent in today's dollars of earnings. But over time, it has expanded massively, and the money has been spent every year. So whereas everybody thinks this money's been set aside for me, no, for the past 13 years, every dollar that has gone out of workers' paychecks has gone immediately to pay promised benefits. And that's what happens when you have a system that enables those in charge of it to spend the money in the immediate term and leave the buck to the next generation that's coming along. And because Social Security has grown so much, it's actually to the detriment of lower income workers in particular, who have to pay such a large share of their paycheck to Social Security. They have little left to save for retirement. And then lower income and African American workers have the lowest life expectancies. So they are the most likely to get nothing back in return. 1 out of 4 African American men will die between the ages of 45 and 64 after having paid into this system for decades, tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they might get nothing back.
What's the solution?
And
I think we ultimately have to shift towards a universal benefit system. That's what true social insurance is. It does not make sense that we are paying the biggest benefits to the highest income earners. So gradually over time, I think we need to bend down the benefits for the middle and upper income earners, actually increase them for the lower income earners. Look at things like indexing retirement age to life expectancy, more accurate inflation index. And I think
so you pay in more, but you don't get more paid out? That doesn't sound fair. Yeah, just get a commie up here railing about how we need to fix it with more communism, when obviously the communism is already failing. You think they're not just going to loot all the money that you try to spend in the next iteration of communism? Ridiculous. It's a ridiculous.
I think that workers need an option to have their money in something that actually earns a positive rate of return and that can't just immediately be spent by Congress.
I have a 28 and 29-year-old, 2 boys, got a job, working hard, paying Social Security. They ask me all the time, Dad, will I ever see any of that money? Will they see it?
I think they will see some of it. That's the exact same thing I hear whenever I ask a group of younger workers, and none of them raises their hand. So I think that there will be something there, but it's not going to be what has been promised.
Mr. Stevens, you got anything to add to that?
Thank you, Senator. What I would add is, when we talk about Social Security or we talk about pensions, the two things that they both have in common is that guaranteed income. You know what you're going to get, generally speaking, at the end of it.
But that's not how life works. As we know, life is like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get.
Reference in terms of protected retirement, we have developed now solutions to get at both of those in a very efficient way And they also address the issue around market volatility because we have step-ups and lock-ins. And it's a very efficient way to deliver that to millions of Americans that we've been talking, and that's all because of what you all did around Secure Act 1.0 and 2.0. They have put us in a position to do that. And that's why I'm really encouraging us to have every 401k plan, 457 plan, 403b plan at least one of those solutions so that the American workers can choose. If they want to know what they're going to get in retirement, we can deliver that for them.
Young people of all ages ask me,
Government shouldn't be
why
involved at all.
can't we put our money in our own 401k instead of put it in Social Security? Is there an answer to that?
I think what I love is that they're asking the right question. Savings in any way is a good thing, and I think there's a place for Social Security. There's a place.
Oh, so savings are a good thing because when you have a dollar system that inherently is inflationary, that disincentivizes savings. Fundamentally, you're incentivized not to save because money that you have in the bank account is being weakened by all the dollars that they're printing. So what are you really advocating for? Collectivist, centralized, communist money system, and socialized, communist, social welfare system, or not? It's like one of the two. You can either incentivize savings with a solid currency that you can't manipulate of the communist ideals that they're trying to push, or you can go the full commie route. You got to pick one or the other. These are two fundamentally incompatible philosophies. If you want savings, you need stable currency, you need free market. If you want if you want guaranteed outcomes, which will be you might get this amount of money, but the currency will be completely devalued for everybody, equity, then you want socialism, communism, hellhole type stuff. You guys get the gist. The U.S. is broke. We don't need to belabor it any more than we already have. Let's jump to our next topic of discussion. We're over here at the Gateway Pundit, who is posting an article from the Western Journal by Jack Davis. Worrisome devices discovered on Chinese-made cranes in use in the U.S. This article has been revised to include an additional comment from the congressional testimony of Rear Admiral John Vann, who leads the U.S. Coast Guard Cyber Command, and a statement from Kerry Davis, President and CEO of the American Association of Port Authorities. Amid rising concerns that the Chinese-made giant cargo cranes found at U.S. ports could be a security concern, are new reports that communications devices that have been found within the mammoth cranes, that communications devices have been found within the mammoth cranes. A report in the Wall Street Journal, citing congressional aides and documents, said cellular modems have been found that could be remotely accessed. So the same thing they're doing with the elections. They're doing with the ports. They're spying on everything. Who knows what's going on with that? The finding is potentially serious because ZPMC, a China-based manufacturer, has made about 80% of the cranes that unload ships at U.S. ports. Well, you know how you could fix that? By not deindustrializing the USA and sending all of our labor overseas as part of a centrally coordinated campaign started by the Rockefeller Foundation in 1969 with Dr. Richard Day, creating a post-industrial America. You're inherently opening us up to this type of technological infiltration when we're not making our own shit. This is not rocket appliances that we're discussing here. But of course, this is all part of the plan, so we shouldn't be surprised by any of this at all, because the mission is to destroy, divert, dilute, barrage, infiltrate, subvert, and basically obliterate. Continuing, China is looking for every opportunity to collect valuable intelligence and position themselves to exploit vulnerabilities by systematically burrowing into America's critical infrastructure, including the maritime sector. Brilliant work, you morons. Republican Rep. Mark Green of Tennessee, chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, said, quote, "The United States has clearly overlooked this threat for far too long." Just completely off the wall. They haven't overlooked it. They've intentionally promulgated it. They've caused it and fomented it with their policies. This was an inevitability. Logically, mathematically, using reason, it was impossible for this not to happen. He added that the communications components, quote, are just one example of the worrisome findings in our investigation. Green elaborated in a statement to Communist News Network, saying that the probe from his committee and the House Select Committee on China, quote, found vulnerabilities in cranes at U.S. ports that could allow the Communist Chinese Party not only to undercut trade competitors through espionage, but disrupt supply chains and the movement of cargo, devastating our nation's economy. Exactly what they want. Quote, without a swift sea change, we will continue to gift the CCP with an easy means of infiltrating our critical infrastructure on their quest for global dominance, he said. The Journal report said one U.S. port discovered more than a dozen cellular modems, while at another port, a modem was in the port's server room. Definitely not soaking up all the stuff in the server room. The report said that the port employees did not know why the modems were installed because they were not requested. It's like this episode of Battlestar Galactica where they discover that there's a Cylon device right in the center of their construct in the middle of the command center. Great job, guys. Don't pay attention to what you're supposed to have there in terms of tech and what's not supposed to be there. Oh, there's just a Chinese device just right in the middle of the server room over here, just grabbing everything and popping it back to China over the interwebs. Liu Pengyu, a spokesman at the Chinese embassy in Washington, claims the modems could be a threat, quote, entirely paranoia. And those making them were abusing national power to obstruct normal economic and trade cooperation, the Journal reported. Others said concern is warranted. They're like straight up Chinese agent over here, allegedly. It's entirely paranoia. Don't listen to the American patriots. These people are straight up Team America, Kim Jong-il level, pure evil. It's fucking out of control.
It's pure evil!
It's not only pure evil, it's 100% evil. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Quote, we have found, I would say, openings, vulnerabilities that are there by design, Rear Admiral John Vann, the head of the Coast Guard Cyber Command, said during congressional testimony last week. However, Vann said, what we have not found is instances of malware or a Trojan horse type software. The American Association of Port Authorities provided the Western Journal with a statement on the matter on Friday. Quote, Coast Guard Rear Admiral John Vann recently testified under oath that there have been no known security breaches involving port equipment. AAPA President and CEO Kerry Davis said, quote, our ports proactively work with the U.S. Coast Guard, other federal law enforcement, and private sector experts to mitigate risks through inspections and defensive measures. This previous incident is actually a positive case study in cyber defense and domain awareness. Well, depends. How long was it there? If you found it like 5 minutes after it was planted, then it's a positive case. If you found it 5 fucking years after it was planted there, not a positive case. So we need more context. Concerns about the cranes began during the Trump administration, according to a March 2023 report by the Wall Street Journal. Sean Planky, a former cybersecurity official who was involved in the National Security Council's discussions, said the debate was around the question, quote, where would someone attack first and how would they do it? Officials believed that if China could control cargo cranes, China could paralyze ports without a shot fired. It wouldn't be hard for an attacker to disable one sensor on a crane and prevent the crane from moving. Chris Wolski, who formerly ran cybersecurity for the Port of Houston, said, quote, these systems aren't designed for security. They're designed for operations. Well, if you know anything about OPSEC, you know that part of operations is operational security. So, in designing your operation, you should also be designing in operational security. The report said that a 2021 Defense Intelligence Agency assessment found that China could potentially limit traffic in ports, or learn what kinds of military equipment was moving through ports. DIA's analytic efforts assist the U.S. military in anticipating and mitigating threats to global mobility, which relies in part on commercial transportation and shipping, DIA spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Dean Carter said. So, sketchy. Who knows what other kind of stuff is planted all around the country in industry, around military facilities. Who knows? We got literally tens of millions of military-age infiltrators, males, that are just doing all kinds of crazy shit, we can assume. I don't even know. Can't even imagine. Let's move on to some Biden-related stuff. We got Ducey. What's the reporter's name? Ducey over here in the press corps asking KJP about cringe John Pierre about whether Biden will debate Trump or not. Of course, she does not give a direct answer.
Yeah, so now he wants to do it. Let's take a look at the clip.
Now that the field is down to 2, is President Biden going to commit to a debate with Donald Trump?
That's something for the campaign to speak to.
Well, we know when the debates are going to be. We know where they're going to be. Is he going to go?
You should speak to the campaign.
In 2020, once it got down to one-on-one, Joe Biden said, I can hardly wait to debate him. How about that?
I'm going to sound like a broken record. You should reach out to the campaign.
She's getting better looking motherfucker. Cognitive issues, not Joe Biden. But
this is ridiculous.
Be able
Check
to,
this out.
as president of the United States. No. According to Joe Scarborough and the mainstream liberal media, Biden's the best that he's ever been. And because of that, they are demanding that Trump debate Joe Biden.
So they're saying, basically, the question isn't if Joe Biden's going to debate Trump. We want Trump to debate Joe Biden. We want to. Joe Biden will crush him. Look at Joe Scarborough go full retard over here. You never go full retard, but Joe Scarborough goes total, full, unmitigated, astronomical levels of retard.
To prove it, because Trump is actually the one with cognitive issues, not Joe Biden.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. Mm-hmm. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically.
They're like, wow, is he really saying that?
Because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth.
Oh,
and F you if you can't handle the truth.
F you if you can't handle it.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. I've known him for years.
Full
the
retard.
Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years.
So the Brzezinskis are one of the most evil families on the
I wouldn't
planet.
say it. And I'm dead serious. It's a damn shame that Donald Trump won't submit to this because he's such a coward when it comes to politics. But it would be great to have Joe Biden right there, Donald Trump right there, around any table, and say there's no shouting. There's no this, there's no insults. We're going to ask you about policy.
Oh, look at this nasty lady.
And actually have them talk about, because Joe Biden, like I said, can take you around the world 100 times. You ask him what's happening in Sudan. He's going to take you through it and what the United States should do, what his administration's doing. You ask him about what's happening in Ukraine. He's going to give you about 5 different angles looking at it. I'm serious.
Yo, I cannot watch that clip without laughing my butt off, man, because the amount of propaganda in that clip is just, it's incredible. It really is, okay? MSNBC is a full-blown propaganda network, okay? They're everything that they claim Fox News is, but even more, right? They are propaganda on steroids, right?
It's beyond propaganda. He makes a good point here. He says that he's going to start calling them state TV, which I think is a really good term for it, because it doesn't get more state TV than claiming the president is, wearing like the most beautiful garments ever when he's clearly standing up there with his moobs out. You know what I mean? Like he's up there with dementia, and this guy's saying he's the sharpest it's ever been. This is state TV. State TV. It's pure evil.
It's pure evil!
So, yeah, Greg Foreman, good call with calling him state TV. Check out the rest of Greg's video over here. Joy Behar and The View lose their minds over Trump demanding Biden show up for presidential debate. But no! MSNBC Joe Scarborough's Morning Joe says, no, it's Trump that needs to debate Biden. They're like, oh, well, Trump didn't want to participate in the primary debates. It should be, now he wants to hold Biden to a different standard. It's a little bit of a different circumstance. Trump was light years beyond those other candidates. He didn't need to debate them. They never had a chance. The idea that he needed to debate them was a joke. But the public has a right to see the two opposing parties' candidates debate one another. It's a completely different thing. There were multiple other candidates, so they all got to see them. They see them debate. They still voted for Trump. They didn't need to see Trump debate with the other candidates to vote for him. They still voted for him. But Biden needs to debate at least somebody, right? He's not debating anybody in any primary debates. So how about Trump? You got to debate Trump, dude. You're going to duck the fight? He would duck the fight because he'll shit himself on stage or something. It would be physically impossible for him to have any chance against Joe Biden. Oh no, Mama Mac. And the worms ate into her brain. Hey, you. Oh, yeah, we've also got exclusive images of Joe Biden preparing for the State of the Union with some overnight restorative therapy. This is breaking. Let me get it over here. We got to jump to 12:20 in this video. Breaking news.
Even check myself. Back to the speech for a second. A little bit of humor to kind of break up my fiery speech. This is only for Guy. I'm pushing this into the show. The Babylon Bee, which is a source of truth out there. It's one of the few places you can get authentic news. I was unaware of this, that President Biden spent the night in the Bacta tank.
He spent the night in the Bacta tank.
The Bacta tank from Empire Strikes Back. Joe, did you know that he did the Bacta tank? Is it? That. Wait, Guy, because you're the resident Star Wars expert. Isn't that where Luke, after the attack by the abominable snowman, whatever the snowman dude, the Wampa guy, whatever it was, that's where he spent the night, right? In the Bacta tank? So that's why he was.
Dan Bongino looks a little bit like the Mandalorian, like Jango Fett. I could see him spending some time in a Bacta tank.
Fiery. This is only for Guy and you Star Wars fans out there because he loves it, and maybe a little bit of Jim. But you're welcome. That was a little shout out to my guy there, right? I want to show you how bad this speech was. Hat tip the great Maze Moore, one of the best social.
All right, you guys are gonna love this because we saw the speech. Everybody saw the speech, but have you seen it contrasted with last year's speech? Because it's the same fucking speech. This is outrageous. This dude put together a compilation showing all the times he basically said the same shit from last year. Shout out to Omega Directive over on YouTube and everybody in the chat. We got Bayou Gator, Crazy B, Sam Duty, Mama Mac, Fluster, Cluck 99, Alicia Savage, Sam Duty, did I say that already? Ed Hoskins. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it. Let's check out this crazy video here.
Social media accounts out there if you want really cool video. He put this out this morning. It's like 2.5 minutes long for the sake of the show, because I'm a little short on time. I cut it to about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Hat tip Mace more in this. I want you to watch how awful of a speech this was.
We know Joe is famous for his plagiarization, right? Flustercluck, sorry, I've just seen your comment about putting a black square over the foobs or the moobs. Yeah, so we know that he's famous for plagiarizing other people, but what people may not realize is how he even plagiarizes himself. This is insane.
In the literal sense, they just repeated last year's State of the Union and threw in a few additional angry lines. It's the same speech. Watch this back and forth from Mazemore, a little over a minute, of last year's speech and this year's speech. It's the same exact speech. Check this out.
Build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. When the middle class grows, the poor will way up and the wealthy do very well.
You know what middle out makes me think of? Have you guys seen the TV show Middle Out or Silicon Valley? Fucking hilarious. Let's see. Middle out compression. Let's see if I can find this video real quick. We're going to build the economy from the middle out.
What do we even present tomorrow? Honestly.
Need a little comedy,
Why do we
guys.
have to present at all? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, if we're going to fail and be humiliated, why do it on stage in front of 1,000 people in a live-streamed audience?
Yeah. Are you saying we shouldn't even show up?
No offense, but it's basically going to be about...
And then we can cut that in half.
How would he do 4?
These tech guys are trying to figure out this crazy compression.
The auditorium and personally jerk off every guy in the audience so that our team could move forward. That's why we're presenting tomorrow.
And they
you know what?
figure out the technology in terms of jerking people off.
I have to go into the auditorium and personally jerk off every guy in the audience.
That's a lot of jerking. And we only have 10 minutes to present, so.
So it's the same problem. They got to figure out compression.
Yeah, even if he's jerking 2 at a time, there are, 800 guys in that room, so that's 400 times whatever the mean jerk time is.
The what?
Mean jerk time. I mean, it doesn't matter, but hypothetically, time is equal to 400 total jerks at a 2-dick rate.
Unless Ehrlich jerks off 4 guys at a time, and then we can cut that in half.
How would he do 4 guys? He's got 2 hands, so that's 2 dicks at a time, right?
Look, you have 2 guys on either side with their dicks tip to tip, so you're going full length. 4, see?
Oh.
I got one with better sound. Sorry, guys. This is just too funny.
We can cut that in half.
How would he do 4 guys? He's got 2 hands, so that's 2 dicks at a time, right?
Look, you have 2 guys on either side with their dicks tip to tip, so you're going full length. 4, see? Oh.
From the middle out. That does make sense.
Like 2 shake weights.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, hypothetically, is minimize time, which is 800 dudes multiplied by mean jerk time divided by 4 dicks at a time. Of course, Ehrlich would have to pre-sort guys by height so that their dicks lined up.
Not by height, technically. The measurement that we're looking for really
ratio
is dick to floor. Call that D2F.
Huh. Oh my God.
You know, if a guy's dick was long enough, he would be able to reach up or down to another guy with a different D2F. The longer the dick, the greater the D2F bridge. I would still be able to jerk it off in one smooth motion. I would just have to jerk it on an angle.
So D2F sub 1 needs to equal D2F sub 2, and D2F sub
Middle
3
out.
needs to equal D2F sub 4,
Mac,
where
it's
length
middle out.
L creates a complementary shaft angle. Call that theta D. Now, the orgasm threshold is a function of lambda sub I.
Such an idiot.
times
Middle
the
out.
previous orgasm.
Middle out.
Normalized
Middle
for the
out.
parameter
Oh my
and the
God.
subject's
How
age.
could I just... Ah!
It's all about middle out. From the middle out.
Vehicle charging
There we
because
go.
when the middle top down, to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down.
The middle
when
out.
the middle class grows, the poor will way up and the
So
wealthy
whenever I
do
hear him
very
talking
well.
about the middle out, That scene in Silicon Valley comes to mind.
Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still
it's the same
do
speech
very
as
well.
last year.
We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations, 10,000 new jobs. It's going to create 10,000 jobs. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Buy America has been the law since 1933, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America, using federal infrastructure projects to be made in America. That we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and chairs the dining room table constantly reminding you. The only nation that can be defined by a single word, possibilities. Like I can define it in one word, and I mean this, possibilities. I'm a capitalist. Look, I'm a capitalist. But capitalism without competition
it's the
is
same
not
speech.
Capitalism.
It's all the same shit.
Capitalism without competition is exploitation.
Plagiarizes
Capitalism
even himself.
without competition is not capitalism. It's extortion. It's exploitation. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter.
Again, one of the things I'm proudest of on this show is when I give you an opinion, I back it up with receipts. I'm telling you it's an opinion that the speech was awful because there's not.
It's so funny, man. Let's check out the very beginning of the episode here where he breaks down how bad it was real fast.
Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
Folks, what the hell was that? What was that last night? And what was even worse was the media response. We've got a new FDR. What? You got a what? We had 100. We had for hours.
And then he shows the talking points going out.
I just want to show you this quick montage. Hat tip. Who was this? Tim
Fiery.
Murtaugh.
Fiery. That's the key word they're all going
folks. And I promise I'll get back to this in a second, but you're going to hear a lot of State of the Union today on other channels. It was fiery. It was fiery. It was Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who the Democrats are just happy he survived the speech last night.
They must have had him all kinds of hopped up on Vitamultin to be that active for that long last night. Have you guys heard of Vitamultin before? Vitamultin was a concoction that was basically created by Theodore Morell, Hitler's personal doctor. A methamphetamine dictatorship. There's a documentary called High Hitler. Instead of Heil Hitler, it's High Hitler, H-I-G-H. And it's about how his doctor hopped him up on this crazy concoction of vitamins and meth called Vitamultin. He was having pain issues related to syphilis. And so he was on painkillers, but that would make him really lethargic and backed up gastrointestinally. So they would give him, it would be really hard for him to wake up in the morning. So they would literally mix vitamins and meth and inject him in the morning to get Hitler to get up and get out there and do his crazy Hitler stuff. And so I feel like that has to be what they did yesterday, something like that, in order to get Dementia Joe to have that Dementia Hitler level of energy that he had. I was amazed. I thought he outperformed what I expected exponentially with that speech. It was far beyond what I thought he was capable of even physically withstanding in terms of the demand and the energy output required for that type of thing. Somehow he pulled it off with energy to spare, even if he was gargling half of the words in his mouth, but it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows amidst the screams. There was bad, crazy stuff happening. Aside from just a torrent of vitriol and lies coming out of the resident in chief over there, we had a Gold Star family member, a Gold Star father, who was arrested for shouting Abby Gate, trying to get Biden to acknowledge what happened in Afghanistan when we lost the 13 military people. I don't know if they're all, some were Marines, some were other, I don't know. So it's soldiers, specifically Army. I don't know what the word is to encompass all of them at once, but this entire group of 13 war fighters over here, heroes, and they had this guy arrested. This is Grant Stinchfield writing, interestingly, for Gateway Pundit. I don't recall seeing him writing here much before. Welcome to Joe Biden's America. The Capitol Police arrested Gold Star father Steve Nikui, who lost his son Kareem during Biden's botched Afghanistan withdrawal for screaming 13 Marines during the State of the Union speech. Interrupting the speech may not be ideal, but the man lost a son due to negligence, beyond negligence, criminal malfeasance. They completely abandoned the plan, pushed the date back further, got the Afghanis all pissed off for breaching the terms of the withdrawal and staying for longer than they were supposed to, and then botched it and got a bunch of people killed, including who knows how many Afghanis and Americans that were just stranded over there. I don't know if we'll ever know. But removing him from the chamber is one thing, as the article says here. Arresting him is another. Oh my God, dude. His arrest is proof of Joe Biden's disrespect for the military. Total disrespect, disdain even. And Gold Star families, it's also proof of the ineptitude of the Biden administration. Just madness. Not only that, I got a couple more related things to this. JJ Von Pepe over here posted a couple pictures of him on our Discord of him being arrested. He's first is shouting and then him with cuffs on outside the chamber over here. Super, super crazy. And JJ Von Pepe as well posted the criminal code with which he was charged, and crowding, obstructing, or incommoding. And JJ Von Pepe doesn't think the charges fit. I haven't gotten through reading it yet, but that's what JJ Von Pepe says. So you guys should check out the actual statute. Link will be in the description. Here's more info on the bogus charge. Doesn't really seem to fit, does it? Let's see. It's unlawful for a person alone or in concert with others to crowd, obstruct, or incommode. Doesn't seem like he did that. The use of any street, avenue, alley, road, highway, or sidewalk. No. The entrance of any public or private building or enclosure. No. The use or passage through any public building. No. Passage through or within any park. No. To continue or resume the crowding, obstructing, or incommoding. No. No, it doesn't seem like this applies at all. So that's pretty weird. Pretty weird, JJ, and thanks for sharing that. Really strange. I can't believe they arrested that guy. Holy shit. Man, what a symbol of just the complete betrayal of the state against the people. You know, even turning against the people who are supposed to be fighting for the people. And in, similar news of the disconnection from the state. And I saw an interview with one lady, a different Gold Star mother, who was saying that that this was what's been happening all along. When the 13 bodies of our fighters came home in the caskets, this one mother didn't want to meet with Biden, declined the invitation, but she was there when he was checking the watch, the offloading ceremony or whatever it was. I can't remember the specifics, but he kept looking at his watch. And she said that the military treated them with warmth and knew all their names and the story of what happened and everything. But then the suits, the people from the federal government, including Biden, I almost said, including Biden, just had no warmth, didn't know who they were, what was going on. It's crazy, dude. Like, just the state of the executive branch it's completely disconnected from the people and the warriors that we have and everything. It's just madness. And in another example of complete disconnection, we had Marjorie Taylor Greene giving Biden a pin with Laken Riley's name on it as he walked into the speech, and he couldn't even get her name right. He called her Lincoln Riley, it looked like, and or sounded like. And here we have the article about MTG handing Joe Biden a pin that reads Laken Riley, tells him to say her name. This is the pin that she handed him. He held it up when he was up on stage, but it's like this dude is so unaware of the stuff that's going on in the country that he didn't even get her name right. And she's literally wearing a hat or a shirt that says "Say her name, Laken Riley," and somehow Biden is unaware of Laken Riley's name. He pretended to be compassionate, like he did with all the time, basically, like he does, like, oh, well, my son died, so I know exactly how you feel. He did the same thing with that other woman who refused to meet with them. That's what she had said about his interactions that he had with the other families, that it was all about him. And it's the same thing that he does. He tries to relate to these people by saying, oh, my son died, so I know exactly how I feel, turning it into a situation about him instead of just listening and respecting and sympathizing. He's got to bring his own situation into it all the time. And so Patrick Webb over here, we've got a bunch of interesting stuff from him today. Thanks, JJ, for sending some really good links. Breaking: mother of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley slams President Biden for fumbling her daughter's name during the State of the Union speech, calling him pathetic. Biden does not even know my child's name. It's pathetic, Allison Phillips wrote in a response to a Facebook comment on Friday. Just obscene. Unbelievable.
Right behind him, and I believe that's a hat that says "Make America Great Again."
A MAGA hat, and then there are buttons that we understand that some Republicans will be wearing. Talking about the border, the Biden border.
Damn. And he can't even do that right. Basic type stuff. Total madness. He also got caught on a hot mic, apparently talking about how he and Bibi Netanyahu are going to have a come to Jesus moment. Maybe the Palestinian protesters are getting to him, or the left is realizing that the party is being divided with all of their their complete simping for Israel, basically. So maybe they're trying to play both sides. He also mentioned building that pier in Gaza when they're like in a war with U.S. allies, Israel. It's like helping the enemies of our allies, which is weird enough. But it's like they're just trying to play both sides and appease everybody to try to get as many votes as possible later on this year. Just crazy. Just crazy. Let's see, what time are we at? 54 minutes. All right, let's bounce off of YouTube and head over to X and Rumble. Boom, posted the link in the description for you guys if you are on YouTube or Facebook. No, we don't have it. We've never had anybody on Facebook. I've never shared it, so not surprising. Although I think we did have Sam Duty on Facebook at one point. But all right, boom. The link is in the description or in the comments, sorry, on Facebook and YouTube. If you guys want to click that, copy and paste it to your browser, come join us over on Rumble. We would appreciate it. If not, We understand. We'll catch you on the flip side. But until then, let's get ready to rumble.